record to cloud. And if everyone will make sure that you are muted so we don't have like tons of crazy background noise. But what's up, you guys? Sorry for the 1 minute delay. I just finished a power hour with our team. But I know so many people are pumped up for this tonight. It was a last minute call. And I'm going to give you a quick backstory on how this came about. But, and by the way, I'm Lauren Ravan. I'm a triple diamond, but that's irrelevant because we're all connected and equal, and we're all just members of this great big family and company, and coming together tonight and sharing a struggle that we don't always talk about, right? Like, we like to share the sunshine and roses, but this is a real struggle that some of our team members deal with, and that became so relevant to me when I was sharing with our Diamond chat group about conference, and so many of them came back and said, I just wish my spouse this, and I wish my spouse that, and there's no way my spouse. And I thought, whoa, buddy, we got to overcome this hurdle. And I'm really blessed. Maybe my husband was as crazy as I am, or maybe he just knew that we were at rock bottom and it couldn't get worse when I said yes. But I know that that's not everyone's story. So we've got some incredible leaders. You guys, we have all different levels of leadership from literally all over the country that are going to share their stories tonight. Yeah, let me see if I thought I clicked it, but let's do it again. Better? Yeah, all right, cool. So we're gonna jump right into this, y'all. We have 4 different guests that are going to share tonight. They're going to introduce themselves, give a little bit of their story from a different perspective. A lot of us have heard the story of the why and how they, built to wherever they are with tangible action. But tonight we're going to hear a little bit of a different side of the story about their and their spouse's perspective and the journey and how they got where they are. And first up, we have Miss Samantha. Are you able to unmute yourself?
Yes, we're here.
Sweet. Let me turn it up so I can hear you good. Cool. And let me make it to where you pop up. Hey, y'all.
Hello.
Hello. And you guys, I want to share this really quick. I had the pleasure of meeting this couple at the Surf and Turf event. And I'm not going to lie, when you commented on the post, when I said who had, a story, my jaw about fell to the ground because my husband was like, you know who that is, don't you? And I was like, no way, because you guys are so united. You're such a believer now. You have so much pride and heart for the company. So I just couldn't believe it. And I'm so excited to hear your story and pray that you guys, that I know all of your testimonies are going to touch people tonight and give them hope. So take it away.
Yeah, well, we're excited to be on. So thanks for having us. But no, I don't think that I share a whole lot that he wasn't like supportive whenever I joined. I joined 7.5 years ago. And I actually, right before I joined, I had decided I was going to open like a little, I have a little girl, and so I was going to open up like a hair bow and clothing boutique. I don't know. But I maxed out a credit card. And the very next day, It Works found me because I wasn't looking for it. I didn't know what network marketing or anything was. And so that's when I say It Works found me. And I asked him, I was like, okay, so I found this. Can I sign up and do it? And he's like, no, you just maxed out a credit card for this boutique thing that you're going to do. You are crazy. And he was going to school full time for engineering at the time. And he left for school the next day and I signed up anyways. I actually had to use grocery money to sign up because I just maxed out our credit card. So I wrote my sponsor, who I didn't even know. I live in Texas and she's in Utah. And I'm like, she didn't even have to convince me to sign up. I was one of those easy ones. Within 24 hours, I was signed up just because I saw the potential. And I wrote her and I was like, I have no clue what I'm doing. I've never done anything like this, but I've got to make money or he's really going to kill me. And so he came home from school, and I might say it a little nicer than what he said it, but I was like, so I signed up to sell those wraps. And he legit told me that we were all going to die because I just used all of our grocery money and we weren't going to be able to eat. And I mean, anyone who knows him knows just how blunt he is and just how he is about it. But so I made sure to like sell my wraps before I even had my wraps, because my husband's over here telling me that we're going to die because we don't have grocery money. And I mean, honestly, I guess we could have, because $99 was a lot at that time. I mean, we were living in a 950 square foot house. I wasn't working because we had an 8-month-old and a 22-month-old. And if I would have worked, all my money would have went to daycare. So we were living off of his GI Bill, which those who don't know, he is a veteran. And so he was going to school on his GI Bill, and we got a little bit of a stipend for that. And
I can't stop watching Ashley.
And so we were also on WIC and things like that. And so I forgot where I was going, but say something.
Say something? You kind of started off. Yeah, I thought we were going to die. Like, I really thought that she spent our grocery money to join the business, and I thought we were going to all starve to death because we just didn't know where our money was going to, I mean, like, we didn't have extra money to spend on things. I mean, all of our money was going towards keeping our children fed. And so when she told me that she said, I just the first thing that came out of my mouth was, we're all.
Sorry, y'all, I accidentally muted you again from whatever that crazy noise was.
Because, there was a good month between us getting paid. And I thought, wow, we're going to go a whole month now without being able to afford groceries. So yeah, I was really against it, mainly because I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what she was getting herself into. She had tried a different company and it hadn't really gone super well. I felt like we spent more money in gas and time to make $20 than it was worth. And so I thought this was going to be very much the same thing. And so, yeah, I was really upset. And I kind of fought her at every turn and didn't make it easy on her. And honestly tried to make it harder sometimes just so I would be right. So that, because my whole thing was, this isn't going to work. It's going to fail. And then, of course, myself because I wanted to be right. So in the beginning, I was very much antagonistic towards her progress. And
I think one of the things that helped was, like, I don't know, I guess whenever I decide to do something, like, I'm going to do it and I don't care who's going to try and stop me, even if it is my husband, like, that's just my attitude. And while he was going to school, like, we lived at that time 30 minutes away from his school. And most of the time it was him putting $5 worth of gas in his truck, just like the smallest amount of gas to get to school and make it back home. And so the quickest thing that I remember him being like, what is this, was whenever I would have wrap sales and I would give him $25 to put gas in the truck. He was just kind of like, what? Like, I get to put 5 times as much gas in my truck, And so I think that was a really big turning point. And the thing is I know all of our journeys are different, and y'all will hear more people tonight, but I had my first 5-figure check in 4 months. That didn't even wake him up. He was like, yeah, that's cool money. And I know Ashley's story is similar, but he was like, yeah, that's cool money, but it's not going to last. And so tell them what kind of got you more on board.
Well,
where'd we go?
I saw her checks coming in. I saw the money. The checks got bigger every month. And I just thought, I don't know really what I thought. I figured it wasn't going to last. I figured there's no way that was sustainable for a company to pay, an independent distributor that kind of money. And it wasn't even that much at the time. And we're talking like $1,500. And I'm like, there's no way they can keep paying you that. And then the checks got bigger and they became more consistent. But even then, I was still waiting for the failure. I was still waiting for it to fall apart and collapse and to be like, okay, that was a good run, babe. Proud of you. Good job. Let's keep
and sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. What's up?
Well, I was going to say, so at that point, though, had how much had you tried to explain or tried to show him? And were you primarily on social media then, or were you building?
So I did some parties but I was mainly social media. So what he saw was when he left to go to school in the morning, I was on the computer on Facebook. And when he came home from school, I was on Facebook. So
and the house was a mess and the kids were barely dressed and it was just insane. So yeah, I mean, it was frustrating not knowing really kind of what was going on and just seeing her on Facebook all the time and thinking, you know, you're just goofing off. Like, you're just playing on Facebook. You're playing Farmville on Facebook and you're not making us any money.
So I joined in April, and a few months later, what was announced? It was conference, okay? Like, just like what's like being announced right now. And I was like, hey, let's go to Florida. Let's go to conference.
And I was like, nope, I don't know these people. I don't like these people. I don't want to be around these people. I have no desire to go hang out with a bunch of people I don't know or like or care about.
But he finally decided, he's like, fine, I'm just going to go. No, because
I didn't just decide we were going to go. So we had a landline. This is back in the day when people still had landline telephones. And no one ever called us on our landline telephone. We had it because we had to have internet we had DSL. I don't know. It's basically ancient history at this point. But we had to have a landline. And our landline rang, and I picked it up. And I'm thinking, okay, it's a debt collector or somebody trying to get a hold of us. And I pick it up, and I'm like, hello? And it's like, hi, this is Mark Pentecost. Is Samantha Kienlen there? And I'm like, the phone's for you. And so I give her the phone, and he calls, and it's basically him and another corporate staff person. And they're like, hey, you know, you guys coming to conference? And we're like, I mean, do you say no at this point? Like, you can't say no. And so we're like, yeah, absolutely. That was totally the plan from the very beginning. And so now we're going to conference. And I don't have a choice. But it was the fact that, you know, back then the company was so small and they were calling people on landline telephones, and I was like, okay, you know, there might be something to this. If they're taking the time to do that, they might actually care about people. And so we went to conference, and then I got to kind of be exposed to the culture, which, I mean, it's one of those things, you either love it or you don't. And I just loved it. And I thought it was great. And I loved the energy, and I loved the positivity, and I loved just everyone's attitudes about everything. Not just the business, but just life in general, and listening to other people's stories that were similar to ours, and meeting people and doing all that, you know, mainly meeting the corporate staff and kind of seeing their hearts and seeing that they actually did care about my wife, which that's huge for me. I mean, if you're going to get on my good side, the first step is, you know, treating my wife correctly. If you treat my wife incorrectly, you're going to be on my bad side. And the company did a very good job of treating her like family and treating her correctly. And so, you know, that helped me feel a lot better with it. And then I got to meet some people and talk to some people, and I decided at conference, without talking to my wife, because that's a two-way street, that I was dropping out of college when we got back to Texas, and I was going to help her full time. So that's really what changed my perspective on it, was getting there and meeting everyone and just seeing what the company was actually about.
And you might have more that you want us to answer, but I just want to say real quick, for anyone who is listening, so maybe you could share with someone else, or if there are some other husbands who are on here, like, he does not actively work the business. I know some husbands, spouses, whatever, do, but now that, I mean, he's supported me for a long time, obviously now, but the fact is even though he doesn't work the business, is he still supports me personally. Like, I'm his wife, and he loves me. And so he's got to where he supports me in what I do. Got anything to say?
Yeah, I mean, I support you as much as I can when I have time now. I don't have any time here.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that you guys went right into conference, because that was kind of how so much of this came about. this is the last question I'll ask you, and then we'll have like the general ones at the end. And I know tons of people have asked in the comments while you guys have been talking, so we can definitely go back and revisit those, and we'll ask more at the end. But Samantha, I want you to share how you felt, how different you were when he was all in with you. How did that change things for you guys?
I mean, okay, so I already said that, like, I didn't really care that, like, he was, like, not on board, you know, because like, I was going to do it anyways, and I try and act hard like that, but honestly, like, it does matter, you know, I mean, it is your husband, and you want them to support you, and you want them to be there, like, along your side helping you. So, whenever
Oh, mercy. Guys, if you're just joining, please mute yourself. I'm going to mute everybody again, and you may have to. Sorry, y'all.
You're good.
Okay. So whenever he decided that he was coming on board and he was going to help more, that was when he truly realized like how helpful it was to help with the kids and change a diaper so that, you know, I could do, I mean, it's not that he never changes a diaper or anything, but you know, like sometimes when I'm in the middle of working, that poop diaper is like an inconvenience. And so like when he learned that like, hey, if I change that poop diaper instead, she can keep working, you know, and knowing that I had his support with things like that, or knowing that like he wasn't going to get mad at me if I went to a wrap party and he had to stay with the kids, you know, things like that, I think pushed me even more. Because when we went to conference, like I said, I was a double diamond having 5-figure checks and he still wasn't believing in it. But then the very next month after conference, after having him on board, I think boosted my confidence, and I went triple the very next month after leaving conference. I think just having his support, even though he wasn't actually working the business with me, he was just doing other things around the house so that I didn't have to, I think is what really helped me and boost my confidence.
I love that. I love that. Thank you guys so much for sharing. Like I said, I know there are tons of questions for you guys and we'll circle back. Becky, are you on and able to talk? So
yes,
sweet.
ma'am.
Hey, girl. All right. So tell us, same general kind of consensus, a little bit about you, what your journey has looked like, and with your spouse. And by the way, thoughts and prayers for your family, you guys. Becky lost her uncle this morning. So keep them in your thoughts and prayers. And thank you so much for still being willing to share with us tonight. We appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like that thing I heard somebody say one time, like, I know this isn't technically an event, like an actual event, but they said like when you're having a bad day, you need the event, and when I don't know what it was, but anyway, so I'm excited to be on here and just share with you guys. But if I'm kind of an organized mess, I apologize, because I haven't really had a whole lot of time to kind of think things over because of that. But I'm going to kind of try to keep this somewhat short without getting too scatterbrained. But I have always been that person that is very entrepreneur spirited. And so I was that girl that literally looked for everything that I could do from home. So I was couponing. I did this like mystery shopping gig. I was in 5 other companies before I joined this business. And so whenever I joined, my husband had watched me do all of this. I got married whenever I was 18 years old and he was 24. And so whenever he heard me ask about joining this business, you know, he's just kind of sitting there like, dude, she's already done all these other businesses before. And thank you guys so much. Look, I'm going to try to like avoid the chat for a second because I squirrel really bad. But he was just not on board with me getting started because he had seen me waste so much money. So is there anybody on here, just kind of by a show of hands, that your spouse kind of tells you things like you're spending more money than you're making? Or like they get frustrated that you're doing things that cost money, even like conference and stuff. So he had seen me do all these other businesses and all this other stuff, and he had seen me lose my butt. And so whenever I asked him to join this business, he's just kind of like, oh, you know, whatever. And I will say we're very old school, you guys. I am a very big believer that you should respect your spouse. I hear people in this business say all the time, like, oh, don't worry about what your spouse says, just do it, you know, and they get like all kind of amped up about it. And while I do understand that, I also am a big believer that, that is your spouse and you need to respect their opinion and you need to have that mutual respect. And so kind of the way that I was looking at it, you guys, is like, we are both really big into hunting. And like mostly he's the one that kind of started that whole thing. And it's very expensive. So it's kind of one of those things where like he had his hobbies and I had mine. But when we started, we were very broke. Like we were paycheck to paycheck. I was always scared half to death to mention anything about being on like government assistance or anything, just because I was very embarrassed by it. But we were on Medicaid and WIC and food stamps and all that stuff just because we couldn't afford life. And so for me to ask him for $200, because by the way, whenever I joined almost 8 years ago, it was $200 for me to sign up. So some of you guys that got started for like 99 or 20 or, whatever you got in with, you got a smoking deal on this business because you can turn it into so much more. But for me to ask for that $199 to get started, he was just kind of like, oh my gosh, like, here we go again. She sold Avon and she sold this other health and wellness company. She sold this, like, I did this thing where I even sold kind of like satellite networks and stuff. I've just always been very big into trying to figure out something that I could do to help out. And the crazy thing is, you guys, is I was doing it for him. Like, I was really doing it for him. He does drywall for a living. He's a contractor. And it is a very strenuous job. It's very hard on his body. He's like constantly just breathing in dust. And it's not good for his health. And he's been doing that since he was probably 16 years old. And so I just saw him working so hard. And we are, like I told you guys earlier, like we're old school. So when we got married, like both of us were like, oh, I'm going to be a stay-at-home mom. Like I was going to cook and clean. And like still to this day, you guys, I have a hard time getting around that. So if any of you guys feel that way, know that you're like, it's okay for you to feel that way. But he worked really, really hard. And I watched him work really, really hard for our family for a long time. And so I just kind of got in this space where I was like, I need to do something to help him. And
everybody, I'm going to mute everybody again real quick so we can. Mercy, y'all. Mercy.
You're the last little guard around here, man.
FYI, if you're just joining, I think everybody's now. Becky, can you unmute yourself? And just so everyone knows, if this is like the first room you've ever joined, in the future, just mute yourself. Like as you join, just go ahead and do it.
But yeah, so I just kind of got in this space where I wanted to do something to help him. Like that's really where I was kind of coming from initially, because I just saw him working hard. And, it was kind of one of those things where like I wasn't working a regular job, but he was just constantly working all the time. Like he would even pick up extra jobs on the weekends and at night, and we would just bicker over money. It was just stupid crap. Like, oh, where'd that $2,000 go that I just gave you? And I'm like, we were paying bills with it. And so we were really stressed out. And, that's what money does to you guys. When you're low on funds, like it can cause a lot of stress and a lot of tension. And so I just really wanted to do something that would be able to help out. And so I did ask his opinion before I joined. I wasn't one of those people that was like, I'm going to do it anyway. Like I asked. And to be honest, you guys, if he would have said no, I wouldn't be here today, because that's just kind of how our relationship is. Like if he was not going to just at least let me do it, I was not going to sign up in this business. So basically, in a nutshell, he said, whatever, do what you want to do. You're not going to make any money and you're going to spend way more money than you're making, but you pay the bills, like just whatever, like you do your thing. So I ended up signing up for $200. And you guys, my story is probably really different from a lot of the people that you're going to hear from, because it took me like 5 years to go emerald in this business, like 5 years to go emerald. It was like nuts. So meanwhile, I'm sitting over here working the business, and my husband is kind of sitting there thinking like, man, 3 years in, 4 years in, like she's not making any money. She's spending more than she's making. She's going to all these events. She's, and I was that person that like, I bought literally every shirt. Like I think I have every It Works shirt that was ever invented. So now I use it for like team contests and stuff, because I just have so many, I can't even wear them all. But, he was seeing that. And so he would get kind of frustrated, and he would just make like kind of little remarks to me. Like, you're spending more than you're making. You're never going to make any money with that. but at least he let me do it, you know, like and it's like Samantha was saying earlier, like he respects me as his wife. And so he supported me as his wife, but he did not support this business. And I would ask him like to go to events with me and stuff like that. And it was just a hard no. And I'll probably be the only one on here tonight, you guys, that does not have my husband on here. Like he's not getting on. I asked him if he wanted to, and he was like, no. So he's very introverted. You know, he does not like big crowds. So that was a big part of the reason why he didn't want to go to the events and stuff like that. But the biggest thing that I can tell you guys is that whenever I joined this business, I made a commitment and a promise to him that I was going to do the dang thing. I was committed. I was not quitting, and I was not stopping until I made a buttload of money with this business. And so that was kind of the thing that really kept me going, because every time I got frustrated, I would just think like, oh no, like I sold Avon and I quit and I never made any money. And if I quit, then I'm going to prove him right. And if I stop doing this and I don't ever make any money, then he's just going to pretty much think that I'm a failure at what I'm doing, you know? So I made that commitment that I was not going to stop until I got there. And I really believe that that's a big part of what kept me going whenever things got really, really hard. But let's see what else. Oh, so I'll tell you guys this too. Like after about 5 years, I ended up going emerald. Finally, it took me long enough, but I did go emerald. I went diamond a month after that. I went double like 2 months after that, I think, and then triple a year after that. When I went double, you guys, like 95% of my double diamond chart was my personally enrolled people. After about 5 years, something just clicked in me and I just got it all of a sudden. And I was like, what the heck have I been doing for 5 years? Like, what was I even doing? I don't know. But my checks were very high at double diamond. Like some of my double diamond checks were well over 10 grand. And I remember like when I literally made my first double diamond check, going into the living room, and I was so freaking excited, you guys. Like I was just fired up and just like all emotional and stuff, just that I had made so much money. And I get in the other room and he's just, I'm like, look at this, look at how much money I made. And I was just so excited. He's just kind of like, oh, that's cool. And I'm like, are you serious? Like that's all you're going to say? And it was still just, even when I got up to those higher ranks, and I feel like Samantha was saying that too, it's like I was getting up there making a lot of money, and it was still just, it hadn't really clicked for him yet. But I got him to an It Works U in Nashville. I finally convinced him to go with me because I didn't want to go by myself and nobody on my team was going. And so he ended up going to that, you guys. And on the way home, I remember this plain as day. On the way home, his whole attitude about everything had just completely changed. He was on the phone with one of his friends and he's like, yeah, we're just coming back from this like It Works thing that Becky had down here. He said, this company's actually really cool. And I was like, what? Like, oh my gosh, wait a minute, what are you talking about? And so I was just super excited because he was just, it was like he had just all of a sudden caught the vision. And you guys, he does not work this business with me. He is a diamond on my team, but he does not actively work the business. However, he does now wear the shirts, and, you know, he goes to events periodically with me and stuff like that. And the crazy thing is too, you guys, like the other night I was asking him about conference because we had planned, he went with me last year. And like I told you guys, he hates crowds. Like he will not even let me go to a George Strait concert. And I'm like obsessed with George Strait because he doesn't like crowds at all. So for him to even be in that room is a big deal. Like that was a lot. So this year he was planning to go with me, and I went out there and I said, but do you really want to go? Because I have some girls on my team that are going. And I said, I could always like bunk up with them and we could go if you just want to, like, you know, let us stay in like the embassy or something like that. And you can go. And, you know, he's got one of his friends that's going down there with us. And he was like, I thought I was going with you. And I was like, well, but do you want to go? Like I said, if you don't want to go, I don't want you to feel like you have to go. And I mean, he genuinely like acted like he wanted to go. So it's just so crazy how much stuff can change. But I would say, you know, if you guys have a spouse that is not supportive, number one, you have to give them time and show them what this is about, because chances are, if you have a spouse that's not supportive, it's because you ain't making no money. Like if you go make some money, they will be supportive. Like they'll change their tune, I promise you guys, because eventually it's going to take them a little while. They might be like mine. You know, some of you guys might have a husband where if you brought home $6 grand, they're just going to be like jumping around having a party or something. But for mine, you know, it took them a little while to get it. But I feel like in this business, everybody comes around at some point or another. And so even though I've had it in my spirit since the day I was born that I was going to be in network marketing, you guys, like, I was not a skeptic at all. I have always caught the vision of network marketing. I always thought people were idiots. Like, in all the other companies that I was in, I was like, why are people not signing up for this? They are so stupid. Like, they can make so much money. But a lot of people just don't understand it. And they just, you know, it's like Pam says, a lot of people don't have a brain cell for the rap. A lot of people don't have a brain cell for the business either. So if you've got a spouse that just hasn't developed that yet and they just don't understand it, you got to bring home the bacon. Because whenever I first started, I know I'm kind of squirreling all over the place, but when I first started, I was very much so belly to belly. I'm still to this day not super techie. I do work my business 100% on social media, but I'm always the last one to find stuff out. Like, my team will be teaching me stuff all the time about like how to make these cute little graphics and like the stories that everybody posts and stuff like that. Like, I steal them from other people because I can't figure out how to make them. I was very much belly to belly. I did wrap parties. I blitzed. I handed out literally 200 cards every single week in the beginning part of my business. And so, you know, now I'm social media, but I feel like one other thing about your spouse not being supportive is if they see that you are spending a lot of time away from them and you're doing all these things, whether you're, you know, out doing parties and blitzing, or if you're just sitting here like this all the time. Like, I can't tell you guys how many times I go out to dinner and I see people that it's like they'll be there on a date and they're both sitting there on their phone, and I'm like, what the heck is that? Like, why are these people on their phone? They're on a date, you know? So I feel like if you make time for them, don't get glued to your phone 24/7, because you guys, if you do that, like, I'm going to tell you one thing, it is not worth destroying your marriage. Nothing is worth destroying your marriage over. If you get really good at time management and you still show them that love and give them time, and you just, you know, go on a date night like once a week, if that's all it is, or, you know, buy them something. I remember, like, I think there was a couple of times I'd like buy him a gun or something. You guys, like, if you go buy them something and they see that you're like, if they've got something they really want and you go make a bunch of money and then you go pay for that for them, they're going to start understanding like, oh, maybe I can have some more things. And so even now, and I hope I'm not talking like way too long, but I want to say one more thing. Even now, you guys, I'm on my phone a lot. And especially, we're actually planning to move to the Midwest. We're moving to Missouri the end of this month from North Carolina. And so I've been on my phone like 24/7 between moving stuff and between, you know, and then my uncle passed away this morning. My grandma passed away a couple of months ago. We've had a lot of life happen. But because of this business, I'm able to spend time with them whenever I need to spend time with my family and be able to do things like that. But even now, he sees that I'm on my phone a lot, and sometimes it kind of bothers him. Like, sometimes he's kind of, you know, you're on your phone like all the time, and I'm up till 2 o'clock in the morning sometimes. But as long as you're carving out that time for them and you're just making that a priority, it's gonna be so worth it, you guys. You have to be able to give them that time that they need. And then, you know, just go out there and get it and just do what it takes to make this work. Because if you'll have that conversation with them and just say, you know, hey, look, I need 30 days to like push hard with this business, and I'm going to prove to you that I can do this. You got to be willing to take massive action. You got to be willing to get out there and do the dang thing if you tell them that. But once you have that conversation, they're going to be a whole lot more understanding if after that 30 days you're showing them some results. Because if you're not showing them the results, they're going to continue to be frustrated. So I hope that.
I love that so much. Thank you so much. There were so many people that were chiming in comments that could relate to your story. And there are several questions, I'm sure, when we go back at the end. Some of those will recap to you too. But you guys, I want to make sure that from both of everyone who shared so far, they said some really important things. They haven't said my spouse isn't supportive, so I can't do the business. My spouse isn't supportive, so I can't go to events. My spouse isn't supportive, so I can't make posts. What they're saying is they got really good at time management. and that they protected and prioritized their time and family still. They both said so far they got it done. They said that they were going to do something and they got it done. It may have taken some time and it may have been a journey to get there, but they did it anyway. You also said something just now, Becky. You said, I told him there was I need to push really hard for 30 days. And I love this, you guys, because our business has seasons with results. But there are also seasons with finding like your pattern of efforts and running for a promotion. And sometimes it may take that. And I think being really honest and having those conversations of, hey, it's going to be 30 days of me not folding as much laundry and I might need some help getting the kids out the door or whatever that looks like. And if they love you and respect you, like both of them have said so far, they're still going to support you as an individual. And I love how bold you both were in your own vision, and you had faith that they would come along. So I think that's a big part of it too. And last but not least, they both said they showed them the money. I think I've heard Pam say before, if you put a comma in the paycheck, they'll start to pay attention. Usually that's when the conversations start to change. So thank you so much, Becky, for sharing. Check out some of those questions so far. Next, you guys, we have Nicole, and I think Justin's with her. Are you guys?
Hi. Yeah, he's coming. He's just trying to like set up Kingston.
By the way, I love your Harry Potter shirt.
Oh, Harry Potter. He's. Hi, King. Can you go watch your show? Okay, I'm gonna.
Hi.
Hi. Okay, so. Okay, so. Good job, King. I'm sorry. Okay, so my name is Nicole Scuderi. My husband is Justin Brookshire. We are presidential from Las Vegas, and we've been in the business like 3 years. So, okay, I was looking at some of your questions because we had an appointment, so we're kind of scattered. Okay, so why I joined. I met my husband at MGM, and I was the accounting manager, and he's like in a different department. And long story short, I lost my job, and I was doing like in between work, and he was like, listen, he's also really old school. He's like, the man takes care of you, and like I do all the work, and like I think wanted me to stay home, I think at some point, but I think we just realized that I am not the stay-at-home mom. Like I don't have those qualities. So I really respect the people who do, because I just don't possess those magical unicorn qualities. I don't have them. I lose my patience super fast, and I need to be working. So he was like, you need to figure something out. Like you have to pay your car payment and your car insurance. And so I met a girl randomly, and I started this business. And I'm going to be honest, like Justin was like, oh yeah, my like ex-wife did Avon, and I don't really think this works. Like, I don't think he cared. He never asked me about my checks. He never really asked me about what I did. Yeah, it wasn't that he was unsupportive. It was just that he just didn't care. Kingston wants to be involved. We kind of talked about this in the car, but I don't know if that the two of us can do this together, which is sucky because he had things that he wanted to say to you guys. Our son's being super grouchy. Okay, so like I said, he didn't really care. He was just like, get your car payment and car insurance paid, and that's all he cared about. Let me see. How did I gain his respect or trust? You guys, for anyone who knows our story for more than like 5 seconds, we just had a lot of medical issues and like a lot of problems. And so I think that like the business has never been a forefront thing for Justin. Like, I don't think he ever hated it. I just think that he was just like, I don't understand why you're always on your phone. I don't understand what you're doing. I don't understand. Like, it was more of that. It wasn't until I went from like ruby to triple my second year, because I had a hysterectomy and stuff. And he's like, are you going to quit or are you going to stick with it? Like, what are you going to do? Make a decision. My husband's super decisive. Make a decision. Just figure it out. Okay. So, I was like, no, I'm gonna stick with it. And so I made this huge jump. And when he saw that first $10,000 paycheck, he was like, okay, I'll go to green carpet with you. And that was another thing, is like, he was the one who gave me the idea to do expos. Like, he was the catalyst for that. For anyone who follows me, you guys know that like, that's become 6 months out of the year, really like our bread and butter. And he was the catalyst for it. He was like, listen, I want to travel. So you better figure out how to make that happen. So I'm like, I don't know how to do that. So he's it's funny because we were talking in the car and he was like, I don't really think I'm that involved in the business. And I had to remind him, like, what are you talking about? Anytime I've ever wanted to like explore or search on Instagram, he will literally pick the area. He'll be like, I want to build a team in the Pacific Northwest. He has an obsession with like Seattle and Portland. And so that's how we got involved there. And then he was like, oh, well, I want to visit back east. And so we started looking at Washington and Pennsylvania and all these other places. So he's like inadvertently sparked a lot of these like pocket teams. And I don't think he ever really realized that, because I would hear, like, we have this passion for history. And so he'll want to visit all these places. He also really loves Texas because he used to be stationed there. And so he was like, well, I want reasons and excuses to visit Texas, or I want to visit this area. And so he was a catalyst for that, Keith said, you want to see this one? Can I read to you in a second, baby? Please? Yeah. Please. Thank you, honey. Okay. Their thoughts on our first paycheck. He didn't care. The thoughts when your paycheck changed. You know what? Even when I was only making $500 a month, I don't really think that he, like, I was super down about it because I was the kind of person that's super, super red. So I think you are going to have to be patient. My poor husband's doing like dances behind me to try to get Kingston to calm down. So you guys want to talk about our dynamic? Like, it's become such a team. Like, I'm trying to do a Zoom and Justin's in the background doing jumping jacks, trying to be like, because we have small kids. And he's like trying so hard to get our kids to calm down. So this is like the normal. This is the normal. Okay. See, and then I get sidetracked because I feel bad that he's like, okay. When did you get your husband to stop rolling his eyes? You know what? I don't know that it depends on how long my phone, you want to happen? Okay. It depends on how long my phone is going off. Like, if my phone's going off like back to back to back, like, we had to establish rules. And like which was hard for me because I get obsessed with the business. And so Kingston finally calmed down. Okay.
Hi, you guys.
I'm gonna see this in small corner. Okay, so let's see. Oh, what was your breaking point or turning point? Or I guess you don't have to answer all those.
Well, I guess the eye rolling, I still give it every once in a while. I mean, let's just cut that out of the, bottom line. I still do it every once in a while. It's like it's getting late at night, the kids are in bed, we want to watch some movies or something like that. I'm still rolling eyes, but we live in a 24-hour town to where some people are getting off, and that's when it's time for her to rock and roll. So, I mean, I've kind of veered away from that a little bit, but I still give it at times. It's just, I guess it's the nature of the beast.
What do you think your breaking point or turning point was? We did not prep for this. I'm really, really sorry. It's been a crazy day. Turning point?
Let me see.
I think it was green carpet.
Yeah, I think my turning point was going to green carpet last year. That was my turning point. Just kind of, Nicole the previous year had already been to conference?
Yeah, I went to conference.
And, she was ranting and raving about it, and I was, listening and everything. But when I actually went, I was blown away. But then my big breaking point was conference that following, February of this year. And the Dark Horse, when Mark came out with the Dark Horse, the last, hour of the show, basically, that blew my mind. And ever since then, I've really been on board with any and everything that Nicole has tried to put together with this whole operation.
You guys, Justin does like that. So you were the catalyst for the expos when they first started, but he was always in the back corner. It was almost like he was like the hands, he helped me set up, and then he'd be like, hey, not like peace, but he'd be like, I'll come check in on you, and I'll make sure that you can have a bathroom break, but don't leave. Because he never really I never really taught him, And so I think that sometimes, for me at least, I just assumed that he would see me talking to people and see me doing Zooms, that he would just catch it. But it's one of those things where it's I almost had to figure out oh, how does my husband learn? Because it was certainly not by just watching me. I had to sit with him. When $9.99 came around, you guys, he signed his own distributors and his own customers. She went Ruby. Renee went Ruby in like 2 months.
Yeah.
And so I was like, dang, like it almost became like this competition where I was like, God dang it. And we know that like, I don't know, I just always wanted this to be like a partnership thing. And I think that I like tried to push it on him for so long instead of just like letting him, you know, come to the vision himself. But now like, I think too, part of it was I started making so much money with the expos that I was like obsessed with them. And so I was like, during expo season, which is like 6 months out of the year, I am gone every single weekend. And I just have a very addictive personality where like, I'm just like I saw the vision super early. And so I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And not just that, like when I say I'm red, I'm like super red. I'm like, oh my God, do you realize how much money we're making? Like last month we made $26,000 in expo cash. That's more than my commissions have ever been. Okay. We last year, the whole year we made 26,000. So I attribute a lot of that extra push because Justin does them with me now. Like I had to take pictures, but like he was talking to people, he was helping me sign up customers. He was giving samples. Like we started the Keto Dad. He has like his own Instagram. And I mean, I'm still kind of like there in the background, like helping him out. Yeah. But like, you just kind of came into your own, like,
I think as far as like the expos goes, I think it's about with anybody with this business. I started using the product, and I started using the product notoriously that men use. And there's some that I didn't particularly care for, and there were some that I use religiously every single day. And when we go to these expos, I'll explain that to women, whether they have a boyfriend or whether they're using some of this stuff or whether their husbands or anything, or then when the males walk up as well, I'll kind of reel them in that way as far as talking about the vitamins that I use and all the products that I use, because it's relatable to people. It's the real stuff that's relatable, and I'm just not going to sugarcoat it. It's honestly the products that I believe in and that really work for me.
I actually, now that I think about it, the first event Justin ever went to, I dragged him to Ashley Sinclair's team training. Yep. We crashed her team training in Las Vegas. We were not on Ashley's leg, but I was like, we're so going. Like, I'm obsessed with this girl. We're going. And he's like, it was late at night. And he's like, was I pregnant? It was before conference, I think. Yeah. I think I was pregnant. And he's like, you are not going alone. And that's that like really old school traditional, like, it's late at night, I'm going to come protect you type thing. But I don't know if you remember what she said, but she said something that was this light bulb for both of us. She was talking about, and she's probably going to talk about it again, but she's talking about how like Precious wanted that extra time with her. And what she would do is she would go to bed with him. And then when he would pass out, she would tuck and roll. Y'all know how long I did that? For so long. He was like, all I'm asking you to do is that. I just want you to do that. Come to bed with me. And then I don't care what you do once I'm asleep. I just want to sleep and fall asleep with my wife next to me. And so it was this aha moment for both of us where he was like, that was his first time he ever compromised. That was the first moment when I was like, oh my God, I think Justin's going to be on board with this. Like if I just do the tuck and roll. And so we laugh about it now, but I talk to people a lot about that because it was his first, I would say, give into the business. He really didn't care about the money. I think even now, even this year, when I'm like, I'll call him and be like, oh my God, we made this much money at an expo. And he's like, cool, when are you coming home? Like, he's just like, I don't know, like maybe I'm putting words in your mouth, but I feel like he's just like, whatever. Like the money's good, but just me. So I think I know conference was definitely big. Like it's the people part, so like everyone's husbands are, people are all different. My spouse, my hubby, he's about the people. He also works for the union and he's trying to make that jump, from being at MGM into the union. And it's because this is just me talking you up, but it's because he sees the vision with people. And so I knew that's how I could get him involved. So my biggest advice is that find out what makes, like if you want your spouse to be involved, figure out what makes them tick. Once I realized like husband doesn't care about the money. He cares about the people. He cares about the vision. He cares about the little guy. And when I figured that out, I was like, oh my God, Justin, look how many lives we could change. Look how many, like, look what we could do, this and this and this, you know? And once that happened, and once he realized, like, this is my opinion, I saw the light switch flip. That's when I saw it. He was like, yeah, I can do this. You guys, at the conference, we hung out with Lachelle and Shari, and they had like Cami and them come over. My husband does not stand up and do public speaking. And he stood up and gave a speech. And I was like, oh my God, he really sees the vision. So that's my advice. And I know that really wasn't a question, but I wanted to give my honest advice. And I just really feel like, just like how we train distributors and we try to figure out their why, like figure out how your spouse ticks. Like what's their look? I mean, truly, do you truly know what your husband's love language is? Because I think once I figured out Justin's love language, what he needed from me to feel like secure in our marriage, and not that I was like married to my phone, and then what he needed to, like, what fills up his cup, you know? And I truly believe, just from like the work, the vision he has for his union, and then truly the vision that he has for our team, it really is helping the little guy. And I'm so red. And so I need that yellow to kind of like balance me out. So hopefully, I think I answered all the questions. Do you have anything else?
Yeah, I think real quick, I think the struggle is really real as far as, I know I can speak for myself, husbands, you know, wanting their wives around it and wanting all that, because it's definitely something you have to work on, because this isn't a joke. This is a lot of the wives and even the men. I mean, they're constantly 24/7 going at it, and it definitely tests relationships. It really does, and it really makes you stronger. It makes you prioritize of what you need as far as a work and relationship balance, more than a 9 to 5.
I agree, definitely. So hopefully I answered all your questions.
Yeah, no, you guys were great. I wish you guys could. My husband's sitting like on the couch, I'm in a chair, and he's doing this like the whole time you're talking, and his personality reminds me a lot of yours. So, guys, thank you so much for sharing. And there are tons of questions again for you guys that are in the chat. So go back and see them. So many people could relate to your story. And last but not least, because I know we're tight on time, but Ashley Sinclair's on. You gave her the perfect introduction. Ashley, if you ever do a training in South Carolina, I would totally crash it too. But I was thrilled to see that you guys had a story, and can't wait to hear your testimony. Let's find you guys.
Hi, I unmuted. Can you hear me?
Hi. Yes. Hello, Precious. I don't even know Precious' first name. Like, I know you as Precious. That's all I know.
Yeah, that's most people. And just for clarification's sake, like, that's from years ago from Lord of the Rings. So that's not a term of endearment for our family. That's very much a my precious thing. So it's a little bit of a Gollum thing. But yeah, I know we're tight on time, and I really, more than our story, because a lot of people have heard it, I don't necessarily want to go into that as much as I want to just share what hasn't worked for us and what didn't work for us, and then what we kind of did to fix that. Because honestly, the longer we've been in this business, the more I think the longer we've been in this, the more I realize that our passion is helping marriages. We just got back from a marriage retreat. We are very intentional about our marriage. I think because there have been a few times whenever, you know, I've almost walked away, or mentally I've shut down, and we've been in counseling several times. So please know that this isn't something that we have this awesome, amazing thing all the time. We have to fight for it, and we work for it really, really hard. And this business really tested us. And so, you know, I always joke that 9 days in, I did my training, and I looked at Dan and I said, I'm going to make us $1 million. And he said, cool, can you just make us lunch? And so I knew from there it was probably going to be a bit of an uphill battle. We had just had a fight a few weeks before I started It Works. Ashley, you're doing too much. Please take something off of your plate. And so here I was adding something, and it didn't go well. And, you know, there's a couple of, it's like, no, but there's a couple of things that I jot down that I really want to make sure that I touch on. And the number one tip and piece of advice that I want to give you and tell everybody tonight, that's on here and has a spouse, whether they're supportive or unsupportive, is that you are on the same team. And the times in our marriage when we don't do well and when things are not going well for us are the times whenever we're fighting against each other instead of for each other. And those are two very different prepositions, and you have to watch those. I remember hearing that, what's the guy's name from conference? That's so good. Shoot, I can't think of his name. But he always talks about if you're going to fight for each other. Don't fight against each other. You're on the same team. So that's the number one thing I would remind you is you're on the same team. And then for me, you know, I am somebody that can be incredibly hard-headed and just forge through and say, I don't really care, I'm doing it anyway. And God really had to soften my heart on that and remind me that, look, you can't claim to be a follower of me and be a Christian woman and wife and then basically tell your husband with your actions, screw you, I don't really care what you think, I'm going to do what I want anyway. So that was really convicting for me. And there's a lot of times when God's really got to kind of rein me in and remind me that I'm not the head of this marriage. And so that's just something that I wanted to say really, really fast. What were you going to say? You were going to say something. It was going to be good. It was going to change my life, precious.
I was just going to say that, you know, Anthony was talking about it earlier, and I think I heard someone else say this too, but for me as a guy and not really having much of a connection with the business early on, the thing that connected me to the business was corporate events. And that's where I met Mark and Cindy and Pam and Mike. And for that connection to be made and to get to know them on a one-on-one basis, they had really big shoes to fill for me because my parents own their own company and I was set to take over it. And so they had really big shoes to fill on that end as far as, well, if these are going to be the people that I'm going to be working for, like what do you do on a daily basis? And to find out that Cindy Pentecost was, still taping up boxes to ship them out to customers like a couple of weeks before the green carpet that we went to, I'm like, okay, I can work behind that. I can get the vision for something like that. So all that being said is that if your husband's having a hard time making that connection and just not really excited about it, get him to a corporate event. It's the best thing that can happen because he can feel the energy. He can hear from Mark. He can hear from Pam. He can hear from somebody that's going to connect with him, hopefully, that he can catch the vision for this thing. And I mean, I'm still surprised about how many guys in this business don't connect with the money that's being made. Honestly, we don't really care. We want the relationship with our spouse. Yeah. And when that gets interrupted by this business, it's hard. It's like another person moving into your house, that
like a lime green person.
Yeah, that keeps taking time away from each other. And so you've got to find time to compensate for that, whatever that looks like for your family. And that is one thing that took a while to learn for us, to be honest. Took a while for us to learn, to be honest, is what I'm trying to say. And so with that being said, those are just some of my, tips that I would recommend.
I love that analogy so much. I've never heard anyone say it's like someone else moving in the house, but like, that is it. That is exactly what it's like, or almost like having another child. I want to, if you guys could enlighten us a little bit on maybe what some of those conversations looked like. Because even in the chat, we see tons of people who husbands, they're not even open-minded enough to explore going to conference, not even going to talk about it. So how did you start having those conversations of saying, okay, something's got to give?
Well, I think, there's one.
Those are my words.
Yeah. Yeah. There's one conversation that really stands out in our marriage. And, somebody posted in the chat, thank God, somebody that didn't go triple in 6 months. And I went triple in 3 months and made $10,000 90 days into this business. And I remember showing Danny the check and just being like, are you kidding me? Look at this. Our whole life's about to change. And I remember exactly where we were in our old house standing there. And he said, I don't care about the money. I didn't ask to be rich. I wanted to be your husband. And, he just said, I just want my wife. And you know, shame on me and shame on all of you as wives that don't see what a gift that is. Quick side note, I owned a lingerie store for 8 years. And so you can imagine I was also a part marriage counselor for a long time with all kinds of relationship issues. And you cannot believe how many women would come in and would have given anything just to have their husband want them and want to be around them and want to spend time with them. So realize that that rub and that fight that you're having a lot of times is not because you're married to an a-hole. It's because you're married to a guy that freaking loves you. And all he sees is that phone is the new person that's moved into the house, or your computer, or whatever. And so be very careful not to get defensive. I was so defensive. I was so prickly. Our marriage counselor described me as a porcupine several times. That I'm just so prickly and I was so defensive, and I wanted to be like, well, I don't really care. This is what I'm doing anyway. And I had to finally get to the root of what he was asking. And neither one of us were saying it the right way. But what he was saying was, I love you. I want to spend time with you. And how awesome is it to be married to somebody that actually likes me, right? And wants to spend time with me. So if you're someone that is kind of feeling that, you know, your husband may not know how to say it as eloquently. And believe me, we're only saying that after 7 years of fighting through this and spending so much time in counseling, you guys, spending years in counseling. And that's what they're saying. I want you. I picked you. I didn't pick the money. I picked you. And so I would really encourage you to look at that. The other thing is, you know, Lauren, I had to find out what was important to Dan and ask that question. What is it that really bothers you about this business? What is it that really, is bothersome to you? And then find that out. And it's going to be different for every marriage. So I can't tell you exactly what it is for your marriage. I just know what it was for ours. And there were so many, what I realized was having that honest conversation, there were so many simple things that I could do that showed Dan, his name's Daniel, by the way, but that showed Dan that he was important to me. And that was whenever I started to notice, like, him going, yeah, of course I got this, or not rolling his eyes, or not being passive aggressive, and those kind of things with the business. He was able to go, heck yeah, go for it, sweetie. I'm so proud of you. I mean, you guys don't understand. It took 7 years to get to a point where, you know, I shouldn't say 7 years, but it took several years to get to a point where he would say, thank you so much for working so hard for our family. I hope you know how much I appreciate you. Y'all, that took years. But here's what I can tell you is that the fight is worth it if you're fighting together for your marriage. And so, yeah, I could keep going, but there you go.
Well, it's just, like she said, it's important to remember you're on the same team. And, you know, for guys, I mean, the business is not for all of them. But if you can find a way to get him involved with it, hand something off, see what he wants to do to help. I mean, for me, it's anytime she signs up loyal customers, I contact the loyal customers every month and remind them about their shipments and talk to them if they need questions answered and stuff like that. So that's, and I already had some of that experience at you know, my parents' business. Like, I used to take phone calls from customers that would complain or want to brag on one of the technicians that was there. So that was not a difficult transition for me. The only transition was just learning the products. And so I wanted to become a product of the product anyway. And I like taking our products. And so it was just a really great marriage for me with finding that little niche that I could do with the business. Cause I'm not the salesperson she is. She can sell a ketchup popsicle to a woman in a white dress. So that's just her. She's gifted at that. So I'm not.
Yeah.
So, but what I am good at is contacting customers and staying disciplined with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So if you want to involve your husband and he's all gun ho for it, then fine, give that part over and find a way to mesh that together and make it work.
And if not, that's okay too. That is okay too. I have realized that this business is amazing. I love that we share a part of it together, but he's never going to be the guy that's out signing people up. And I'm okay with that. I don't have that expectation of him. So be very, very careful, wives. Your expectations of your husband, don't look at anybody else's story and compare that to it. Only use it as encouragement. And only use it as an example of something that might be working or not working. But do not compare what you're going through right now if you're a brand new Ruby that's on your phone constantly and feel like your husband should be acting a certain way. The best thing I feel like we can do, and gosh, I don't care if I take flack for it because there's plenty of people that don't like me, but gosh, I would just encourage you to humble yourself. I am not somebody that says that lightly. It took me a long time to really and I still fight it. Trust me, I fight it. I am a leader. I am strong. I have 2 speeds and they are fast and faster. And it's very difficult for me to pause, slow down, humble myself and say, God, what do you want me to learn through this? Dan, what could I be doing different that could be better? And in those moments, you guys, that's whenever our greatest growth has happened, is whenever I've been willing to humble myself and say, I don't just have to force this. There is a space for those of you that are really, really tough and hard-headed like I am to still be able to say, God, what do you want from me? And husband, what do you want from me? And how can I make our marriage better? And how can we do this together, or even not do it together, but just at least be on the same page, or at the very least be in the same book. We don't have to be in the same chapter all the time, but geez, let's be at least in the same book and realize we're on the same team. So anyway, that's it.
I love that so much. And I hope that do I?
I'm like all red.
Well, I get high just when I get excited too. So we can vibe together. You guys, I love that so much. And that I hope what you guys have gotten out of this message is how they're talking to each other. And how Ashley said, God, what do you want from me? Husband, what do you want from me? I'm sure, has anyone ever said to you, Ashley, oh, I wish that I had a Dan, and they don't even know the story? And yeah, I love that you said that. So if you're watching this right now and you're wishing that you had someone else, that's probably part of the problem, And so, like she said, humble yourself and have the courage to go talk to your husband. I'm really blessed that my husband was on board in the beginning, and we don't have it all figured out right now. I'm a faster and faster kind of girl too, the 2 speeds. But I still have learned so much from all of you that have shared tonight, in how to proactively grow the business but still prioritize our marriage. If any of you want to share, especially if you're guys watching, or even Becky, if you're still on, if they were to get off this call tonight or tomorrow and have a conversation with their spouse, what is it that you would encourage them to say? Would it be the husband, what do you want from me? Or what is it that bothers you so much about this business? Any advice from any of the couples? And I know that there were a lot of questions here, guys. I've encouraged each of them to go back, but we'll be on here all night long if we answer all of them. And I'm going to speak and say that if you guys want to message them, if it's something independently, that you guys will be able to answer them in time, if that's cool. But anyway, any last words of encouragement for them to have that bold conversation?
I actually have one quick thing. I know my hubby's not on here with me, but one thing that I would say that I actually love that Ashley said, which is another reason why she's like my fave, and she doesn't know it, but she is. But anyway, it's that not all men are made to do this, you guys. And the thing is, you have to understand that a lot of times men have a little bit of that ego thing going on too. So like for me, I know the deal with me and my husband was that he was the hard worker. Like he is the head of the household. He is the man. He wants to be the provider. He wants to be the support. And we are just kind of old school like that. So if your husband is like that, he may have a little bit of a thing where, like, if you're bringing in more money, I know for a little while it was kind of a weird thing for us because I was making like 3 times as much money as he was making with this business. And so it's a little bit of like an ego thing. So just know that your spouse does not have to do this with you. Sometimes supporting you doesn't have to look like doing the laundry and doing the dishes. You guys, I still do all the wife stuff. I still cook sandwiches. That's about all I cook. Sandwiches and pizza because I'm not a good cook. But I do the laundry. You guys, I clean the house. Like, I still do the wife stuff. The inside, this is like my nest. He takes care of outside, and that's okay. I still work my business, and I don't expect him to work the business. And that's one thing that I really love, you know, that she did bring up, because you guys, sometimes it can be really stressful when you feel like you have all this stuff on your shoulders. And I can tell you guys firsthand, the past 3 months, while we've been in the middle of a move, we've had 2 deaths in the family, I've had all this stuff going on, I've got 2 kids that I'm responsible for helping them with their homework. Like, that's the wife stuff. That's all the kind of things that I tend to do. And it gets really stressful, but just remember that it's not always 50-50. I always look at it like, I want to try my best to give 100%. And he does the same thing. And I'm not always 100%. Like, I suck at stuff a lot of times. Like, I'm not great at stuff. And there's a lot of times where I feel like I should be cooking something healthier or whatever. But just know that it's okay if they don't want to do the business. Sometimes just being supportive is just getting out of your way and just letting you do it. So when you're having that conversation, just be understanding of that is the one thing I would say.
I love it. I love it. Anything else? All right, you guys, I can't wait to go back and read some of these questions and the comments. And I hope you all know that before we got on here tonight, it was our prayer, and I know everyone who is sharing, that we're just able to encourage someone in some way, shape, or form, and understand that this is it's one of those phases that it's an obstacle, but obstacles are there to overcome, and that it's possible, and that you've got support all around you. That's what I love about this company and this family that you found and at work. So know that someone's always here to encourage you, and thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Those of you who shared your story, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I know this is going to encourage so many. Have an incredible night, you guys, and we hope to see you all and your husbands at conference.